Imagine a massive corporation where 50 different buyers are ordering the exact same laptop from the exact same vendor, but their invoices are coming back with completely different numbers. We're looking at a scenario where a company is essentially hemorrhaging capital, and initially, nobody knows why. Welcome to the Agile Auditor, right here on Risk Vigilant Bottot. Today, we're putting on our forensic auditor's hat for this explainer to investigate exactly how a simple control failure can cost a business dearly, and how a tool called a price master acts as the ultimate digital safeguard. Section 1, the multi-million rupee leak. So think about it. When you've got multiple people across different branches all procuring the exact same equipment, consistency is literally everything. But look at this variance. We have 50 different buyers. One buyer manages to secure the laptop for 50,000 rupees, which is great, right? But then another buyer in a totally different department ends up paying 60,000 rupees for the exact same machine. Because of this massive 10,000 rupee discrepancy, which gets multiplied across dozens of buyers, the company is bleeding millions of rupees in lost discounts. All that money they supposedly saved during vendor negotiations, it's just vanishing right before their eyes. Which obviously forces us to ask the critical question. Why are we bleeding millions? Like, how does a modern, sophisticated corporation actually allow this to happen? Well, the answer is startlingly simple, and honestly, entirely preventable. This leak happens because management basically allowed human beings to manually type prices into their purchasing system, rather than relying on a proper automated control. They left the front door wide open for human error and inconsistency. To plug this leak, we introduce the actual solution. In simple words, what we're looking at here, a price master, or sometimes it's called a pricing condition master, is a highly secure centralized database that's nestled right inside your ERP system like SAP. You can kind of think of it as an impenetrable digital vault. It holds all the officially approved prices, the bulk discounts, and the tax rates for specific materials. So when a buyer actually goes to create a purchase order, they don't type a single thing. The system automatically pulls the exact pre-negotiated price straight out of this vault. Section 2. The supermarket barcode analogy. Now, we can easily anchor this somewhat abstract software concept to something as everyday as a trip to the supermarket. Just think about the checkout line for a second. When you put a carton of milk on the counter, the cashier never, ever relies on their memory to price it, right? And they certainly aren't manually typing 100 rupees into the cash register. Instead, what do they actually do? They just scan the barcode. Boom. The system does all the heavy lifting. And that brilliantly illustrates the parallel we're making here. Just as the supermarket register instantly talks to the store's central computer to pull the exact current price of that milk, the price master acts as the central computer for your corporate buyers. Over in corporate procurement, the buyer just selects the item they need, and the ERP system automatically provides the price. No typing, no guessing, and absolutely no memory required. Section 3, XYZ Limited, SAP in action. Okay, let's look at a real-world corporate scenario just to see how this workflow is perfectly executed. First up, Ria from Central Procurement spends months, literally months, negotiating a massive national contract for safety boots at exactly 1,000 rupees a pair, and that contract is valid for the entire year. Second, she takes that hard negotiated rate and she locks it right into the SAP Price Master. Fast forward, say 6 months later, a junior buyer in a remote branch factory urgently needs those safety boots and creates a new purchase order. Now, the very moment he selects the vendor and the item, the system automatically populates the price as 1,000 rupees, and better yet, it locks the field. That junior buyer cannot change it, which guarantees that XYZ Limited gets their hard-earned discount every single time. Section 4, paper contract versus digital rule. So when we're auditing these systems, we notice beginners constantly mixing up the legal paperwork sitting in some filing cabinet with the actual system configuration running in the software. Looking at this side-by-side comparison, the distinction becomes crystal clear. On the left, you've got the master agreement. What is that? Well, it's the physical, legally signed paper contract between you and the vendor. But on the right, you have the price master. This is the digital rules engine inside the ERP system. It's the actual mechanism that forces the software to calculate and apply the math from that paper contract onto your everyday purchase orders. Look, a piece of physical paper can't actually stop a buyer from overpaying, but the digital rule, it absolutely will. Section 5, the auditor's eye, hunting for manual overrides. As auditors, we know exactly what the system should do, so we are constantly hunting for the ultimate red flag, which is the manual price override. Auditors will rigorously test the ERP system's security settings just to ensure that the price field on a purchase order is completely grayed out or locked down for normal buyers. Because think about it. If the system allows a local buyer to simply delete the price master's locked 1,000 rupee price and manually type in, say, 1,500 rupees, you have a massive control failure on your hands. The digital vault has basically been left wide open. So, the absolutely crucial point we have to take away from this is that an unlocked field reveals one of two pretty grim realities. If a buyer is actively overriding the system to pay more, either that buyer is dangerously incompetent and totally ignoring corporate contracts, or, and this is far worse, they are secretly giving the vendor a 500 rupee bonus in exchange for a kickback under the table. Without the price master properly locked down, you literally cannot prevent this kind of fraud. Which brings us to our final takeaway for this explainer. When it's properly configured, the price master offers an ironclad guarantee. The discount you negotiated actually becomes the price you pay. It completely, 100% eliminates the gap between procurement strategy and everyday execution. So, as you go back and review your own organizational processes today, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. What other manual override risks might be lurking in your corporate systems right now, just silently bleeding your profits before our next investigation?